and welcome to Tiny Table Talk for The Challenge Season 38, Episode 7, and at the time of this video coming out, it's post-Thanksgiving, and I thought it would be really fun to have a comment palooza. I haven't done one in quite a while, where I take a ton of comments from my Thursday's review and recap. I read them, shout them out, so I grabbed a ton of comments from my Thursday's review and recap video, and without further ado, let's jump into it. And the first comment comes from YouTube Bearcat, who says, was it not totally embarrassing and humiliating to see Anissa and Veronica walk during the daily challenge? I don't think it was totally embarrassing and humiliating, but this was a showing of the level of competition that a competitor such as Anissa brings to a challenge season every single time she shows up. And I think this is what highlights our frustrations with Anissa as the audience, because she comes in, she wants to make a final, she wants to be competitive, she wants to win. There's no doubt in my mind that she wants to win, but she comes into the season and has a confessional where she's like, I'm built for comfort, not for speed. So what does that mean when the final is, what, 10 times as long as this trail run? And I'm not trying to say this to be mean, I'm saying this as a realist, that this kind of daily challenge is to be a good litmus test to see where your level of competition is comparatively to everybody else. And it just felt like Jordan and Anissa were kind of falling behind in their partnership throughout this whole game. And I mean, a lot of other players also kind of like fumbled the bag in this one as well. But again, were they trying to throw it? Elana comments, Amber and Chauncey holding hands during the daily was the strangest thing I've ever seen on this show. It's not the strangest thing I've ever seen on this show, but it was really funny rewatching it. And Amber's going for Chauncey's hand, and Chauncey's like, you can run like this? And she's like, yeah. That was really funny. Like, I would have had the same thought, like, what are you doing? Alex comes in with a comment saying, I want to see actual competition. Everyone's afraid to win because they don't want to ruin their social game by naming 4 teams. I wish Fessel play like a Big Brother player. Now, I also agree with that. I'm frustrated hearing that there's so many players kind of like, I'm going to take my foot off the gas. I don't necessarily want to win because I don't want to say names. Now, we're coming down to the nitty-gritty. If you're not going to win, there's a high probability you're going to at least be in the draw, right? I mean, if there's, 9 teams left, 1 team wins into power and 4 teams have to be said, only 4 teams are going to be off the board. So you have to think going into a daily challenge that your social game is on a whole nother level if you feel so comfortable that you are going to be one of the last 4, 3, 2 teams that won't be nominated out of 6 possible teams. So people aren't going to be able to hide behind, oh, I'm just going to like sit back and I don't want to win to not say names, because guess what? Your name is going to be called quicker if you're not going to be winning anything. Vapatera comes in with a comment saying, I feel like it's been ages since I've come to one of these videos without the expectation of Jay and Michelle being dead players walking. This week at least, take some heat off of them. I disagree. One, because of the disagreement between Devin and Michelle in front of the whole house, everybody getting super loud. And also, like I was saying with the last comment, we are coming down to a point in the game where there is no wiggle room. Every team that's going to win will be looking for an excuse to put some players up, whether it's legitimate reasons or house drama that they can fall back on, and like everybody was saying in this one, like scapegoats. So with Michelle having this argument with Devin, also their past 2 weeks of being in power, that's easy excuses to put Jay and Michelle up there. The same thing with Nelson and Nurys now, Amber and Chauncey, Jordan and Anissa could just be thrown in there because, oh, you've seen the elimination multiple times. You've been nominated 2 weeks in a row. I'm just going to nominate you because you've been there before. And the same thing with Olivia and Horacio. And also Tori saying that she liked the disagreement in front of everybody in the house between Michelle and Devin is because she wanted to have that separation away from Jay and Michelle. And I have a feeling that if they would win into power, they're easily going to put them up. Rory Gold comes in with a comment saying something about grown adults crying about playing a game when they are not in power, but do the same moves while in power is crazy to me. And this is why I love Darrell, because he is like, whatever you got to do, make your move, even if I don't like it. But he doesn't complain. And also Nurys Something about her I just love besides her being beautiful. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I think it's getting old when teams are frustrated about being nominated. It's okay to be frustrated about being nominated, but it almost feels with the edit, people take things really personally to the point where they forget that this is a game. Now, granted, a lot of people are doing this for a living, where Darrell, who I love his attitude, I think he could have played a better game, maybe add a little bit more strategy, not lean so heavily on Veronica's side to be the politician. But I do love it because he comes from a brand of challengers where when he started, this wasn't a career path. This was something fun to do. Get out, go to like Mexico, hang out with a whole bunch of people that you know from your shows, from other shows, hang out, have a vacation house, play a couple of games, get paid for having a vacation, and then go out and do your normal job when you come back home. You're out for a month and you come back. Nowadays, everybody's taking this very seriously. It's way more money. It's way longer filming. So I completely agree, but everybody's also seeing this as, this is my job. This is all that I do. This is what's paying my bills, because if I'm not doing this, I'm not doing the podcast. I'm also not doing a whole bunch of interviews. I'm not doing influencer deals. That's the main thing, I think, as well. Next comment comes from Big Streezy, who says, I was kind of annoyed how Nany was acting during the deliberation, saying you weren't even on our radar, but it was only like that because when they won, the house had a unanimous target in Turbo, also implying that Nelson should go after Fessy is comical because it seems like they're working together. 100% that they're working together, and I want to highlight this comment because I said the same thing. When Bananas came in saying like, well, I didn't even put you up, so that should have said something. It's like, when? Week 2? Week 2 when the house was filled to the brim with multiple rookie teams that you could have thrown in. Yes, Turbo and Tomorrow became a huge target in the game. Like, yeah, I had the same thought when he said that in the deliberation. I was like, come on, man. You know that that's such BS. You're just saying that to get out of being sent directly into the elimination, which I applaud you to, because you have to. You have to do everything you can to save yourself in this game, but I just thought that that was a super weak argument. Tay comes in with a comment saying, me this episode to Nelson. So you learned nothing from Vendettas. The stuff that went down in Vendettas meant nothing to you so much you were willing to allow Devin saying something to get you emotionally manipulated again. Bro, Kaylee who? Great point. I didn't even think of that, but that is such a good point. I feel like Nelson and Devin have this are you the one bond with each other that they've been holding on for seasons, yet we've seen this from Devin. My thought process was sending Amber and Chauncey directly into the elimination instead of any of the other teams, at least what was the original plan of Bananas and Nany. My thought process was, who does this benefit? Yes, that relationship was strained, but you could still keep them as numbers, you know? You can help mend those relationships, but also at the same time, they're not winning much at this point, except now that they've won elimination, maybe they can get the momentum going. But when it comes down to the decision-making and the experience, it just feels like Nelson reverts back to his past seasons and the decisions he's made, how he's made those decisions. And I think it was a big blunder for not only this week, but for what some of the people have said in the confessionals this week that I think foreshadows what's to come later on in this season. The next comment comes from Tanika, who says, Nelly T had a great plan, but screwed it up right at the end, in my opinion. I also agree with that opinion. He should have picked Bananas and Nany instead of Amber and Chauncey. I would have loved to see how they played and shook up the house. That was the plan. That would have been incredible. A matchup for the ages. I mean, you essentially help Devin. I mean, I don't think Devin's going anywhere anytime soon because he's still working both sides of the house. Even though Bananas and Nany can see that Devin is kind of finessing his way out of being nominated, they still need him as a number. They don't want to burn that bridge because if Devin and Tori somehow win into power, they don't want to be nominated, you know? So Devin is trying to get Nelson to do his dirty work by throwing in Amber and Chauncey, nominating Bananas and Nany, trying to take those steps to nominate and knock out some big teams to help make the path to the finals a bit easier. But if Devin and Tori were to win, which now I'm questioning if they were ever really trying to win a daily challenge, maybe this one, but I don't know if they wanted to have that power to have that target on their back to nominate anybody, especially if they saw that Nelson and Nurys were up in front. Like, we're good with that team. They can make the power moves, and we can sit back and be safe for another week, you know? Everything that happened in this episode that Nelson made, the decisions that Nelson made, how everything went down, just really were benefiting Devin and only Devin. This didn't help Nelson's game in the least. He said he had friends. In the interrogation, he said, Darrell is a friend. Amber will never say my name. Even Nurys was like, Amber has your back 100%. Everything then just avalanches to the point where you have Darrell, who you called your friend, going home, and then you have Amber and Chauncey now not trusting you. And then you also still have Bananas, Nani, Jordan, and Nisa still in this game. Whatever. I can't get into this. I mean, honesty says the truth here. When they say, such a shame for Nelson, he ruined his game, he is truly a good guy, he is better off not winning until closer to the end. 1,000,000,000%. 1,000,000,000% right there. And that just solidifies what I was trying to say right there, where I'm getting frustrated at this move because it just completely unraveled, and Nelson, who had a really strong plan, just couldn't keep on this path. Oh my gosh, man. Just absolutely destroyed your own game. Red is not a flavor. We have to talk about why another rookie just randomly dislikes Amber B. What is the reason? Now, somebody replied who had listened to the Bananas podcast, Ziggy here, says, according to the Johnny Bananas podcast this week featuring Devin, Amber has a subtle way of trying to manipulate social interactions in her favor with generic compliments. Apparently, there was a sizable group in the house that all could see it and agreed it was untrustworthy and non-genuine. This type of subtle comments is hard to fit into an edit storyline, so it flies under the radar of the viewers. Now, Red is not a flavor replied saying they also listened to the podcast. I listened to the podcast. The reason Devin gave why he hates Amber is wild, in my opinion. He is projecting hard. Amber gave him a compliment and used the same compliment on another person, so he thinks Amber is fake. I got a pocket, you look nice today, for everyone I meet. One, I'm glad we have some sort of reference of why people may dislike Amber in the game, but I have to agree with Red is not a flavor, that if that is the real reason people dislike Amber, I mean, everybody, and I mean everybody, calls her a snake, pretty much calls her a liar. Every single season. She's only done 3 seasons, and everybody dislikes her. Now, granted, you don't want to say everybody looks nice, because then what is the weight of that compliment? But if we're talking about a generic compliment of you look nice today, she can't feel that somebody else looks nice in the house today. Oh, she gave me a compliment on my eyes, and then somebody else is like, oh, she liked my eyes too. And then it's like, what? She must be lying to one of us, or she's lying to both of us. How can we trust her in a game for $1 million if she's lying to us about liking my shirt or liking my eyes? At the end of the season, if somebody has an interview where they can give legit in-game reasons why people should dislike Amber, I want to hear them, because I have heard 0. This is the 3rd season. I didn't hear anything in the 1st season. I didn't hear anything from her 2nd season. Now we have this season, and people are still distrusting of Amber and calling her a snake and not liking her, but we just haven't had this concrete. I get it. Thank you, Ziggy. Thank you, Red is not a flavor, for listening to the podcast and shedding a little bit more light on what Devin is trying to say about Amber being untrustworthy. I still don't get it. I just really don't get it. There's people that have legit lied, backstabbed, betrayed, sent their friends in, gone against their friends, pulled their fingers in hall brawls, and are not called snakes, and haven't been targeted and had so much crap said about them in confessionals and interviews as we've seen with Amber. I still don't understand it. Matt Butler comes in with a comment saying, I could tell this was an amazing episode because I was so mad at Nelson that I had to pause it and walk around the house to deal with how he ruined a solid plan. It was dang near foolproof, yet Nelson is a fool. I don't think I have much to say. I mean, you're completely right. I was so frustrated. There was a point where I was loving the plan heading into Deliberation. I was like, we finally got a solid plan. This is it. He's learning. The strategy is there. And then you just saw like certain moves, certain confessionals. Amber and Chauncey are getting a little bit more confessionals. He's giving Darrell 100% guarantee that he's not going into the elimination. And then the whole roller coaster thing, I was like, yep, that's it. That's it. Bananas and Nany get saved again. Low Liz comes in with a comment saying the gaslighting by Devin this episode was something else. Good on Michelle for standing up for herself and her bestie Amber. The convo Chauncey had with Jordan was twisted around like crazy, and they never once show Amber being shady or fake. So where's all the animosity towards her coming from? Like a gut feeling isn't enough. Smells like jealousy from here, LOL. I mean, I think that's what it boils down to. I mean, that's the default that everybody in the audience has come to know with Amber, because it's like, I don't know, what else could it be? We need something to tell everybody why we dislike Amber. What could we, it can't be jealousy. We can't say that we're jealous, because then it gives her all the power. She compliments people too much. She's too nice. It comes off as fake. Because everybody in the challenge house should be guarded and bitter and angry all the time. And should be shady as all the time. Maybe that's just her personality, everybody. Maybe she's just a very happy person, and you're just trying to bring her down to your level by calling her fake. J Diz comes in with a question asking, the real question is, who will go first, Jay and Michelle or Nelson and Nurys? I'm still under the belief that Jay and Michelle will leave before Nelson and Nurys. When it comes to both teams, I think Nelson is still way more connected to teams than say Jay and Michelle. And I think when it comes down to an elimination, I have more faith with Nelson and Nurys than Jay and Michelle. And the final comment comes from Chris, who says, happy Thanksgiving, Drew. I'm thankful for your episode breakdowns. Thank you so much. And I want to say that I'm thankful to each and every person who checks out my videos and watches them every single week, watching these episode breakdowns, watching the episode review and recaps, tiny table talks, my clip videos, my shorts, everything. I really, really appreciate the love and support week in and week out that the channel sees. I love making videos, and I love and appreciate when people say that they love the videos and they find them entertaining, that they want more, that it just makes me feel really good inside. So I'm very thankful to everyone who watches the channel, watches my videos, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I want to give a special shout out, thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakebids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge 38 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.